guys, Wade Crow here, Wade Crow Audio, and I'm doing an update on the BOSS GT1000. I did a video on that a little while ago and didn't do a follow-up. So a few things were going on at the time, and I really had to sort of come back and do this now. So I apologise for the delay if you've been waiting for an update. However, this is the situation. I ended up using the unit for a couple of days, trying it out, really working with it, trying a lot of different things, and I found that it wasn't my desirable unit. I have a friend who uses one. He said it works great. He uses it for live shows, he uses it for recording and all that sorts of thing. I found that the interface that I was using, I think it's the BOSS station or something like that, it's the user interface you use with these units. And I really worked with it a lot, and it couldn't give me the sounds that I was really after. I was trying to find a unit that I could sort of put with other parts of my rack that I could run straight into and DI into my audio interface, and I found that this really wasn't the one for me. So I ended up returning it to the store. They had no problem. They understood where I was coming from. I explained the situation, and they said, look, we find that it's 50-50. People either really work well with it or they just don't like it at all. So it's one of those things. In the meantime, what I started to look at was how to use IRs with Pro Tools and things like that, and what's another option that I could do. And instead of spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on all these different kinds of units, my particular amp allows me to have, it has a headphone jack. It's an EVH 5153, 6L6s, and it has a headphone jack. And I went, I wonder if I can do DI from the amp to my audio interface and get some kind of good sound with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I actually came up with to save myself $1,500. Now, if your amp doesn't have an earphone jack, then you probably won't be able to do this. There might be some other ways you can do it. You could probably run it out of the return. It might be an idea. But always make sure you have your amp head plugged into your speaker box at all times, okay? If you undo that, you can cause all sorts of problems when you're trying to run it out. So make sure your amp and your head are connected, okay? And you turn on the power, because what I wanted was to play my guitar at different times. I usually get inspired late at night sometimes when I have an idea and I can't really crank up the amp, at 1 o'clock in the morning due to where I live and things like that. So I wanted to be able to have some options where I could play and not disturb anyone and really do my stuff. And this is what I came up with, all right? What I got, because the headphone jack is generally a mono sort of output that does give you stereo if you use the right connectors, I decided for $6 or $5 I went and got one of these. Okay, this is basically a stereo jack that two single monos go into one. This goes into the back of your amp. Okay, and I'll put a photo up now where you can see what it looks like. Okay, and you can see that the single point here plugs in. All right. And then I got basically what you know as RCA cables like this, and I use the white and yellow, plug them in, nice and easy, just like that, and that goes into the back of your amp and the earphone output. Okay, everything else is plugged in as normal. I've got my returns to my effects, all that sort of thing. So the sound that I would normally run out of the amp is now running through the headphones because I've got my returns to my effects, all that sort of thing. So this plugs in the back of the amp, and at the other end, what you want is cables that run solo or monos like this. Okay, now you don't need the yellow one, you just get the red and white. Okay, like that, and there you can see they're the bulby type ones. Okay, and you get mono, literally mono, for each side. So this is basically your left and your right. And then when you plug it into your audio interface, and I'll put a picture up now of the audio interface, you basically have a left and a right channel. So you can actually record one track at a time in your Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, or you can record them both together and have basically a stereo run. Okay, now these cost me a couple of dollars each. The cable, I think, It might have been a leftover cable I had somewhere, but the cable's usually $20 maybe. This is Australian. And in this piece here, so for about $15 to $20, I was able to basically run the sound of my amp straight to my audio interface. Then my audio interface runs out through a 30 band EQ or 32 band EQ into a compressor, and the send goes back to Pro Tools. Okay, and I can record that down on a much cleaner track after it's been compressed and things. Once I have that track, and I'll show you this in another video, and once I have that track, I can then EQ it and all that sort of thing a little more, just do some little touches to it. And then on my final track, okay, what I have is essentially the IR responses. So I went to a couple of places where you can download the, what was it, Own Hammer and one or two other places, and I got some IRs. You can do stereo. I used a free software that allows you to load IRs into Pro Tools. So basically I was able to do everything I wanted with IRs running straight from the amp head into the computer, through everything that I normally do, and get a really monster sound. Okay, so I'm going to do another video shortly on what that actually sounds like and show you in Pro Tools, but I just wanted to show you what the alternative you can do. And you can use a practice amp, get a $20 practice amp with the earphone output. You can do this exact same thing, stereo sound, blah blah blah, off you go. So I just want to leave it at that right for now. I'll do another video using Pro Tools and showing you how I actually came up with this and how it all works out. And you can basically get a much better, cleaner sound because you want to record in with as raw a sound as possible, and then you can go to work on it. A raw, clean, good sound from your amp straight into the audio interface. Run it through whatever outboard gear you have back into your Pro Tools. If you don't have outboard gear, just use plugins and the IRs, and you'll still get a great sound. And you can get a much better natural sound than you probably will out of some of these $3,000 units. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm going to leave it at that. If you were hoping to get a good feedback on the GT1000, I am sorry that I wasn't able to provide a feedback on that, but for me, I found it just wasn't my thing. I found that the sounds were undesirable for what I wanted to do. They were not the sounds that I wanted. I like running good clean sounds. If you've got a Tele, you want the guitar to sound like that Tele. You want that Telecaster sound. If you've got a Gibson, you want that good custom Gibson sound to come through, and you want to keep that. You don't need to mangle it, and then just do some EQ, do some delay, things like that, and that's how you can improve your sound with some post effects and things like that. So you want to always keep the sound as sort of clean, original as possible, because any guitar will give you that natural sort of sound that guitar has. Like my gold top Gibson is very different to my Telecaster, which is very different to my Chevelle. Okay, and I've got another Gibson, 70s Gibson there as well. Another totally different sound. So if you're going for metal, all you got to do is have a Chevelle, a BC Rich, whatever. You can use these, run it from your amp straight to your audio interface, and do all these sort of basic clean out. Get the sound as clean as you can. Run it out from your earphone jack into your system. You can do left and right, or you can do one at a time and have sort of your paired guitars sort of running together, and go from there. So basically that's it for today. I hope that's been help, and look forward to the next one. Thanks guys.